going on, everybody? Welcome to the RBS Cinema Podcast.
I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
This is Sparta! I'm thinking I'm back.
Why so serious?
Avengers!
Assemble. I'm Batman.
You better lawyer up, asshole. Because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
I'll be back.
You shall not pass!
RBS.
Lovely.
Welcome, everybody, to RBS Cinema. I'm your host, Devin. With me is Jack, of course. And this week's episode, we decided to talk about Nausicaa. The Valley of the Wind. And actually, we didn't decide to do this. Shout out to Annie, who actually gave us the movie to actually discuss this week. So,
yeah.
So yes, shout out to Annie. She's the one that suggested this movie for us. And I've never actually seen this. So
I had also not seen this. But then again, I haven't seen most Studio Ghibli films.
same. I've actually had it on my list of just different Studio Ghibli movies to watch, because I've been aiming to actually watch all of them, just so that way I can get my own personal preference, opinions, and which ones I actually like, which ones I don't like as much. Because of course the Studio Ghibli movies are always world-renowned. They're super good movies, whether it be the art, the characters, the voice acting, the story that is behind them. It definitely has a cultural phenomenon about them. So
Yeah, it helps that they're really good films. I'd be curious to know how many of them there are. There's probably somebody out here who's seen every single, somebody who's listening who's probably watched every single Studio Ghibli film and knows them by heart and knows how many there are. But you know, this is my first foray into like. I knew what Studio Ghibli was before going into this. I know that like the one that pops into my head that I know off the bat is also obviously My Neighbor Totoro and Ponyo.
yeah.
Because I saw Ponyo on a poster at one point where I was going to a movie theater. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that art style before. It's like, oh, it's done by Studio Ghibli. Apparently it's pronounced Ghibli or Ghibli. Because it's
People that have seen the Studio Ghibli movies know how it's pronounced, but then like if you're not that cultured in movies or just anime movies in general, or even just Studio Ghibli and begin with, everybody always pronounces it as Ghibli for some reason.
Annie and I actually had an argument about this, is like how it's properly pronounced, because before I watched this, I was confident that it was pronounced Ghibli, because Ghibli is based off of an Italian word.
Yeah.
And that's how it's pronounced in Italian. Mm-hmm. But the head of the studio said
Miyazaki.
Miyazaki prefers it to be called either way, that it's based on personal preference.
Yeah.
But more often than not, you'll hear people say, "Oh, it's pronounced Ghibli," which is again, like basically you won't be crucified if you pronounce the studio name wrong.
No.
They'll just like slightly correct you. It's not like other times where you get a pronunciation wrong and everyone flips their shit. You know.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like, oh, it's not Cavill, it's Cavill.
Right.
Like with Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
But then again, that's also somebody's name, and not just like, a more perfect example is GIF versus GIF.
We don't even,
so
we don't have enough time on this podcast to be able to discuss the difference. Like the correct pronunciation of the word GIF.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
the acronym, you know what I mean. Graphics interchange format. Anyway, we had to go to get talking about this film. How about we do that?
Why don't we do
this film podcast?
That? So yeah, I've never seen it. Have you? You haven't seen it before this, have you?
No, like I said, this is my first time seeing anyone, but specifically this one, I had not heard of it. I knew nothing about it.
I've known about it. I've seen references and stuff like that, like with the creatures that are in it.
Yeah.
Like the big, huge, humongous creatures.
The Ohm.
Yeah, the Ohm. So, but other than that, really haven't seen too much about it. Like, I thought that I saw a Castle in the Sky, like, when I was a kid, but I don't think I have. I don't know. Like, there will be a time to when I will actually sit down and watch all of them. I'd prefer to watch them in order of release.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this one came out in like 82. This one came out in 84. This one came out in 90. This one came out so on and so forth. Just because you can see the animation styles change.
Yes.
And the stories and like also the actors, like the voice actors and stuff like that. So...
But even back then, this movie was made in 1984.
Yeah, I was going to
And
say,
it
we're
was-
going 2 years prior to the last episode that we talked about, which was Akira.
Akira. And it's
So-
like, it's still really good.
It still holds up.
Like
So,
Japanese animation is timeless.
It's
almost.
like the 40th anniversary from last year.
Yeah.
So it's like awesome. But again, it's like from the initial release, because then it got re-released, of course, because Disney bought Studio Ghibli, and now they've pretty much just like, okay, well, we'll do the dubbing for from here on out.
That dub was actually in 2005.
Yeah, I was going to say,
because I noticed like, oh yeah, this is pretty. pretty like professionally done dubbing for
plus
movie.
you've got like really big, not big, but you got like really good actors that are in it.
This voice cast is star studded in the dub, which is the version I watched. Did you also watch it in the dub?
Yeah.
Okay, because for those who haven't watched the Akira episode, we had completely differing experiences because I could only find it in the sub version.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Devin watched it in the dub.
Yeah.
So
I could watch it in either or I could have watched it twice, one in subbed, one in dubbed, and then compared the two. But I just don't really like to do that because, like, I like, in certain aspects, I will watch it in the original format.
Right.
So, like, either, like, the way that it was intended to be.
Yeah. Not like the remastered version or the 4K version, you know?
Right. Well, not even just that. Just like, you know, like an anime, for instance, subbed.
Yeah,
subtitled.
right.
Now, when it comes to like anime shows, I prefer to watch them dubbed. If I don't want to wait for them to be dubbed, I will watch them subtitled.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I will just prominently just watch them dubbed because to me, I don't really watch a whole lot of anime as it is now. As I did in the past. I do aim to actually cross off some animes that are on my list of stuff that I need to watch. Like Dragon Ball Super, I still have yet to like actually sit down and watch that. But me and my wife are currently going through Dragon Ball Z, and then we're going to pick up on Dragon Ball Super afterwards. So I don't know about Daima. Daima's actually up in the air for me, just because of the fact that
I think you should watch Daima. Well, first obviously watch Dragon Ball Z.
Well, yeah.
And then I would say watch Daima and then watch Super.
Right, because I know that Daima takes place after Z, but
Yes.
before Super. But it doesn't really make any sense on why Goku can go Super Saiyan 4. Spoilers for Daima.
Man, you just spoiled that shit.
Well,
yeah, it already got
it's a
spoiled
big,
for
huge
you,
thing.
I get. Yeah, so like...
It got spoiled for me, so now it's getting spoiled for you. So it's spoilers.
I meant to stay spoiler-free when I was coming out.
Yeah. But yeah, I know that he goes Super Saiyan 4, and I'm all like, if he can go Super Saiyan 4, why wasn't he able to do that in Super? That's my big
because
caveat,
I think it's
so.
a different... It's like an
Form.
alternate telling
Right.
of the future. It's like how GT, it's like branching storylines, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like there's the GT timeline.
Because
there's
like now in that case,
the Daima timeline, and there's the Super timeline.
yeah, because we'll go off onto this a little bit, and then we'll actually talk about the movie specifically.
Yeah,
Because
small
this is in my
tangent.
head.
Small tangent.
So now you're telling me there's 3 different timelines. So you've got Dragon Ball, and then it goes into Z, right? That's how it
Yes.
goes, right?
Yes, that's the canon.
And then you've got one timeline where it goes off into Dragon Ball GT. You got another one where it goes straight into Super, and then now you got another one that goes off into Daima and then Super.
Well, we don't know if it goes straight into Super yet.
That's what I heard.
That's what
Last time I checked.
That's the discourse, is that the people think that Daima goes straight into Super. Well, it's like...
Yeah, because like I heard that Toriyama said that Daima takes place in the timeline before Super, but after Z. So it's like, okay. But again, that still doesn't make any sense to me, because like with Z ending, it still doesn't make any sense to have it go into Super because of Goku's outfit that he wears. It would make more sense for it to go back into GT, but we all know that GT isn't canon.
No, we're not going back to GT.
But like, because at the end of Z, he has on his blue outfit, not the orange outfit.
Yes.
And then that's what happens in GT, is that he starts off training with Oob in the blue outfit, and then that's just what he wears throughout the whole series. But even in Super, he has his orange outfit still.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Well, he gives up fighting in Super. In the beginning of Super, he's a farmer in the beginning of Super.
He wants to be a farmer because that's what Chi-Chi wants.
That's what Chi-Chi wants, yeah.
So, because I know that, because I started Super and then I fell out of it, and then I'm going to sit down and actually pick back up on Z with my wife and actually get this stuff going so we can finally get through it.
You can skip certain parts of Super, I'm going to be honest.
Well, yeah,
like you can cover the big arcs, but some of the stuff is mostly just filler.
Yeah, because I mean, like, that's how it was for Z too. Like right now we're in the Cell Game Saga, and there's certain things that don't need to be in Cell games. Not even Cell games, yeah, because it would be the Cell Game Saga.
Right.
But it's like, okay, you don't need him trying to find the Dragon Balls.
Right.
Like him confronting General Tao again for the second time, and he doesn't remember who he is. So, oh no, technically for the third time.
Yeah, Mercenary Tao.
So, because you don't need that whole bit of Goku and Gohan going off to their own adventure as Super Saiyans, and then getting to the Cell games and stuff. So,
hey, I'm not a huge Dragon Ball fan. I'm not like a Dragon Ball like
aficionado
purist or anything like that. It's not even my favorite anime.
Right.
Like, you should watch JoJo. But
yeah, because that's your favorite anime.
Yes, we'll get into that later. But anyway, let's talk about this film.
Yes, let's talk about another anime-based movie, which I completely forgot to mention this at the top of the show. Welcome to Anime Month. For those of you that are catching up for the second week, now that it is the month of May, we decided to talk about anime-based movies.
It's anime.
So we are dubbing it as Anime Month. And this is the second movie that we are talking about for the month. And then we've got one that's coming into the works here in the next, I think, couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So get ready for that. It's gonna be a doozy of an episode. So we got a returning guest coming back who's been on before. So get ready for that.
Glad to see him back.
So yeah. But let's talk about Nausicaa.
Nausicaa,
I forgot what her name was for a second.
It's the main character of the movie.
I know. I always trip myself up on how to pronounce it. That's the thing. I don't forget. Yeah, Nausicaa. So talking a little bit about what the movie actually is about, bare bones, is a warrior and pacifist princess Nausicaa desperately struggles to prevent two warring nations from destroying themselves and their dying planet, which is basically the bare bones of what it is. But
dying planet. What? It's not really what.
It's not really dying. I would say that the human race is dying.
Well, yeah. So like, again, we'll talk about that. But
yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really consider their planet to be dying because it's not dying.
Maybe their civilization is dying.
Yeah, that's
what I'm thinking. Maybe their countries are slowly dying, or they're being in, like, we'll talk about that. Like,
yeah, in a little bit
Yeah.
here. So we got director and writer Hayao Miyazaki, and then you got co-writer Kazunori Ito, and I also whenever we're talking about an anime movie for this month, what I like to do is do both voice actors for the movies, because then that way you can get both subtitled and dubbed over.
We're
actors.
mostly going to be talking. Well, we're almost exclusively going to be talking about the dubbed version of this film.
Yes.
But yeah, that makes sense if you want to include some of the voice actors for the
Japanese version.
Yeah. So
we got Nausicaa herself being Sumi Shimamoto. Got Jill of Mahito Sugimura. Sorry, we're dumb Americans, so it's going to be a little hard to pronounce some of these. We got Obaba, who was the blind
old lady, yes.
witch lady. Hazuko Kyoda. We got Yupa, who plays, or not Yupa that plays, but Yupa, who is voiced by Goro Naya. Mito, who is Ichiro Nagai. Goro, who is Koi Miauchi. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on, so it's a little hard to read. Joji Yanami, who plays as Gikuri. And Niga, who is voiced by Minoru Yada. So just to name a few people here. And then going into the voice cast, we got Nausicaa again as Allison Lohman. I don't know who that is.
This is her only notable voice acting performance. I looked this up
Because
I was curious. 'Cause it was a stars. Well, go ahead and finish the listing off the names, and I'll talk about just the cast in its entirety.
And then we got Lord Yupa, who not plays. I need to stop doing that. Patrick Stewart, who plays as Lord Yupa. Which they always get a good star-studded cast for these movies.
Oh my god! It's so great. I heard it. I heard his first couple lines, and I was like, "Is that Jean-Luc Picard? Is that Patrick Stewart?
Right?
Sir
Sir
Patrick
Patrick Stewart?
Sir Patrick Stewart,
who is in X-Men, who's returning in Doomsday. It's gonna be great.
He is in a lot of stuff. Just
Professor
besides
X,
the X-Men.
Yeah, I know.
So
he's in a lot of stuff. Got Uma Thurman, who plays as Kushana.
that was crazy.
Yeah, I was reading this and I was all like, "Wait, that was Uma Thurman." Chris Sarandon, who plays as Kiritoa, and surprisingly, Shia LaBeouf, who plays as Aspel.
I had freaking whiplash.
Yeah, I had whiplash too, because I was just like, "Wait, is that Shia LaBeouf?"
No. I didn't even realize. I was looking at the cast list, and I noticed that Shia LaBeouf is in it. And then once I saw that he was in it, I couldn't unhear it.
Yeah,
I heard it the whole time.
Right.
When he first shows up in the movie, I was like,
who does that sound like?
Like,
and then once he
wasn't really
actually
thinking about
starts
it.
speaking,
It's like,
then you kind of go like, "Wait,
wait a
who
minute.
is that?"
Yeah.
Because when I first heard him speak, I was like, "Wait, is that Shia LaBeouf?" And then because then I started doing all this stuff, and I was like, "It is Shia LaBeouf." I'm like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
And then we got Edward James Olmos, who plays as Mito. Surprisingly, he's in this movie. And then, of course, got the wonderful Mark Hamill, who is Pijit Mayer.
The Pejite Mayor.
Yeah, the Pejite Mayor.
Yeah.
Which, when he started talking, I was just like, "Wait a second, that's Mark Hamill." But
yes,
then
I also got spoiled on Mark Hamill being in this film.
Yeah. So just a few of the big, huge.
And this is also
people that are in this.
1984 Mark Hamill as well. This is a younger Mark Hamill.
No, this would be 2005.
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
Hamill.
No. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, this would technically be 2005 because of the English dubbing.
Yes.
I would imagine that they dubbed it twice when it first came here, and then it got dubbed over again in 2005
and now
by
the
Disney.
only dub that remains is the redub.
Yeah.
which honestly I'm thankful for.
Yeah,
because
sometimes like the redubbing works, sometimes it doesn't.
So Nausicaa's voice actor, this is her only notable voice acting performance that I could find on IMDb. Mm-hmm. She wasn't in anything else for the most part. It was just
that's
this,
kind of
and then,
how like some of the voice actors are, because sometimes they'll do like a big huge role like this, or like just a Disney movie in general as an animated film, and then they're no longer relevant.
There was one of the characters in this
actor.
film that I noticed from several different things. Like Frank Welker's in this film. Did you know that? Frank Welker is in this film. For those of you who don't know, Frank Welker has two notable voice roles. Frank Welker is Megatron.
Okay.
And he is also Scooby-Doo.
Oh,
I kid you not.
Okay, here he
Frank
is.
Welker is in this film.
He plays as Goal.
Yes, Goal is Frank Welker, and he also does a lot of other stuff. But like those are his two most notable because Frank Welker plays Megatron in the original Transformers animated series.
Oh, okay.
So, and he's reprised his roles over a couple years whenever they try to bring him back to do Megatron's voice. Like he did Megatron in the he was Galvatron in Transformers 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Yeah, so they brought him back to do the voice of Galvatron, who is just another version of Megatron. So that was a nice touch, even though those films were really kind of garbage.
Yeah.
But like what surprised me also is that he is the voice of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
As well. So like you could have like just the dichotomy of those two. Like those videos on YouTube sometimes just like the title of the video is just same voice actor.
Yeah.
And it's just like a jarring comparison.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
imagine that video exists for Megatron and Scooby-Doo. So
Right. Well, it's also the same thing for drawing a blank on his name, but like he pretty much voices like half, if not majority, of the people that are on Futurama.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's like a really big voice actor and stuff
I know.
like that.
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of other stuff. That's the only thing I know him from, off the top of my head. So, but we'll move on to taglines here.
Which looking at this, there are quite a few of them.
A lot, because there's some that have ties to the trailers and stuff like that as well. So, got Miyazaki's epic masterpiece, which is just from the 2005 Disney release.
You could say that about any Studio Ghibli film, honestly.
Yeah, it's like it's another Miyazaki masterpiece.
Oh my
it's like,
God.
literally. If we do talk about more Studio Ghibli movies, I will just like take that one out. I will veto that one because it's all like every one of them is a masterpiece.
Every one of them is going to have that line in there.
So, but another one is now the birth of a fresh, deep emotion, a romantic message to you from the future.
Okay.
I don't know how to interpret.
No, I see what it means. It's like not romantic as in like.
Well, I'm not talking about like romantic.
Yeah,
like,
the typical definition of romantic, but like I could see mess from the future. Yeah. I could see that.
I guess. Why do people destroy and hate? Why do they not show love and affection? I mean, that just goes without saying, honestly.
It goes hard, honestly.
So, romantic animation that shows real tenderness, warmth, and loving spirit. Which, if you guys haven't caught on yet, because the whole thing is about Nausicaa being a pacifist, and so she just wants not everybody to get along, but she just wants the killing to stop and for the humans to not kill the insects that are in the forests. So
the jungle, toxic jungle.
Yeah. A young girl's love called forth miracles, which I would have to say so. A spectacular romance overflowing with love and adventure. Pretty much the same thing. Nausicaa's courage and love of nature and all living things burst out. Yeah.
There's a lot of love in this film.
It's a lot of love. A lot of love. So, the future has never been so exciting. Warriors of the Wind.
Okay.
Which, I don't know what that's supposed
future's never
to.
been so exciting. I'm saying there's a lot of I mean, I'd say that most futuristic films are at least somewhat exciting.
Yeah. 1,000 years from now, the only hope for the future is in the hands of a princess.
Okay.
94 minutes of animated fantasy. Well, you could say that
94
for
minutes.
with most animated movies that are 94 minutes. So,
Yeah.
flee, fly, foe, fun. Here's an adventure for everyone.
What?
What the hell kind of a tagline is that?
What the hell is it? A storybook ass like tagline, like
Yeah.
my goodness.
And then here's a pretty long one. I think
we got
that
a
it just
paragraph
incorporates all of it. Like, the most fantastic family adventure in a world 1,000 years from now. Heroes, demons, conquerors, creatures, and a band of young warriors of the wings of their greatest challenge. I don't know why they say demons, because there are no demons in this.
No, there are. There
Are
are.
there?
The big tall firemen.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Huh.
I guess you could call them demons, I suppose.
I guess.
But anyway, let's break down like sort of what this film is and what it's about, like more in depth.
Yeah. Because like pretty much the story is that like Nausicaa, she goes to get samples of spores and stuff.
Yes. So
And-
she's a scientist,
Yeah.
or she has a scientific
Or
mind.
she's a botologist.
What?
Botologist?
But you mean a biologist?
No. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. No,
She's a botanist.
Yeah, that's what it is.
She's a botanist.
Yeah. That's the word.
It's
Study of plants.
Study of plants. Yes,
Yeah.
botany.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Horticulture.
yeah. But yeah, so she her, what is it? Like I don't remember.
Okay, so I basically
well, I don't remember his name.
Lord Yupa.
Yeah, Lord Yupa.
Yeah.
He's the world renowned like sword fighting guy.
Yes, he's a wandering traveler, and in the opening scene of the film, we see him basically walking through an abandoned village on his two, I guess you could call them bird mounts, right? He's got
Basically ostriches.
Yeah, basically ostriches. Kind of like if anyone's played Monster Hunter Wild, it's kind of like a sacred. It's like a big bird that they just travel long distances on.
Right.
He's walking through this village that's been overrun by spores and like mold and stuff like that, and he basically what is happening in this world that Nausicaa inhabits is that there is this sort of, I wouldn't call it like parasitic. Basically,
No.
there is a jungle that is spreading out throughout the world, and it's slowly overtaking villages and communities, and it's poisonous. It's toxic to humans. They can't.
Yes.
People cannot survive in the forest.
Yeah, whenever
in the
they
jungle
go out,
without masks on.
Yeah, they have on masks, like breathing masks.
If they breathe, then they die. Yeah. And it's slowly encroaching on different sorts of territories and countries, right? It's expanding as it goes. And living in the jungle are giant insects of various kinds, but the largest of them are called the ohm, which are basically just giant beetles.
Yeah.
Right? And these things are huge. These things are the size of probably a football stadium. And there's literally thousands of them.
No,
I would say. Yeah.
It might be a little bit bigger than a football stadium, but
A little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But basically the insects inside the jungle are super territorial, and they will attack anything that's perceived as a threat. And where the village where Nausicaa lives is in the middle of a valley. It's the Valley of the Wind. And it is prosperous, and it is home to many different types of people who all obviously they harness wind to be able to use it for their mills and stuff like that. And so that is where Nausicaa is from. Where Lord Yupa comes into our story is that he is being chased by an ohm in the beginning of beginning of the film, and Nausicaa saves him knowing fully who it is, because she emerges from the jungle in the opening scene of the film after we see Lord Yupa in that destroyed village, because she's collecting samples. So she sees that the Ohm is rampaging. She goes to save Lord Yupa, and it turns out that the Ohm was getting too far away from its jungle, so she calms it down. She makes it return. Yeah. Right? So these things can be calmed down, or she's figured out how to do it.
Yeah, because like they have like these giant eyes that will change from red to blue, or from blue to red, because
depending on
like
how angry they are.
When they're enraged, it's that their eyes are turned red, and so that's when they know, like, oh, like these things are enraged, and they're trying to find out why. And then Nausicaa calms them down by just saying, "Hey, everything's okay. We're no threat.
She's very
whatever."
Soothing. She also has this awesome glider thing that I don't really understand how she does it. Like, she planks on it, but she's holding herself up by her arms, and I guess the wind is like carrying her body up. But she's doing that. It's not like a glider typically where you're hanging. It's above you and you're hanging down from it. She's hanging above it, and it's like she must be pretty strong if that's the case. Yeah. So Nausicaa saves Lord Yupa and brings him back to the Valley of the Wind, where it's basically like the scene in the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, where Gandalf is going through the Shire and everybody is like coming up and just like, "Oh, Gandalf's back, because like Lord Yupa is extremely famous in the village,
right?" And
they get there, and later that night, after they arrive, obviously they go to see Nausicaa's father, who is sick because he has been, I believe.
I think that he breathed in
the poison. He has been subjected to the poison from the jungle, and obviously, if you're exposed for too long, you will slowly die over time. Yeah. We don't know where Nausicaa's mother is at this point of the film.
I think that she might have died.
But it's never said explicitly at that point in the film. But we just don't see her. We do see Obaba, who is a blind soothsayer, and we get this story of a legend of a they say it's a man clad in blue who eventually will come to bring prosperity to the Valley of the Wind, essentially. So we get that backstory. That's going to be important later. That night, they notice that there's a change in the wind, because they are very acute to how the wind works here, obviously, because where they live, because it's really literally in the middle of a valley. So
and then they find out that it's a starship. Not really a starship.
It's a big warplane.
Yeah, it's a basically. Warship is what it is, and turns out that it is from
Tolmikia.
And so Nausicaa gets up in her glider to like go and like tell them like, hey, you need to land over here or whatever, and she finds out that there's just a bunch of creatures that are on the window, so the pilots can't see and they can't navigate.
Like the plane's about to crash.
Yeah, and so it's about to crash into the cliffside of by the ocean, and so she's trying to like tell them that you need to
turn a little bit more so they won't crash, but
then they end up crashing anyway.
It's too late, and
in the morning they end up like going through the rubble, and then they find this giant egg.
Well, no, before that,
then they come to basically try to kill the king.
No. Before all that happens, they realize that after the ship crashes, everybody comes to like put out the fires and stuff like that. They find a girl lying in the grass, and she's in handcuffs, right? And someone immediately recognizes her that she's Pegite, which is a neighboring kingdom, right? And Nausicaa opens up her chest, and supposedly there's a hole in her chest. She's dead. She's dead. But she gets to say one more thing before she dies, like, please burn all the cargo.
Kill it with fire.
Kill it. If anything is still in the plane, please burn it. And it's like, okay. So
alluding to the giant egg.
So they already know that it's a
Tolmekian
Tolmekian ship.
Yeah.
But why was there a Pegite girl on there in the first place?
Yeah.
So the next morning, they find out where the cargo is, and they find out it's a giant. It's insects.
Mm-hmm.
The insects are for some reason on this Tolmekian plane that crashed in the valley. So obviously, one gets out, and Nausicaa is able to calm it down using some sort of like bolo thing. It makes a sound whenever you swing it, and she calms it.
Yeah, and then it flies away.
It flies back to the jungle wherever it came from. So they were able to prevent it from like spreading spores in the valley, because if the jungle comes into their valley, then they're screwed, because it's the Valley of the Wind is basically the last paradise on Earth. It's very secluded. There's natural boundaries that prevent the forest from getting in there. That they've been surrounding the valley for about 100 years, essentially. So there was no chance of the poison from the toxic jungle ever approaching the valley, because of how hard it would be to penetrate.
Yeah. Unless,
of course, you have a plane that crashes into the valley from above, carrying insects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that so afterwards, later on, there's more planes that come into the valley, but these ones are it's like a whole fleet that basically lands into the Valley of the Wind, and it's more Tolmekians, and the Tolmekians are basically like an occupying nation. I would equate them a little bit to maybe like the Roman Empire or the German army, to a little bit how they work, where they come in,
they take what they want.
They said, we're not here to hurt you. We have come to we have come to acquire you into the nation of Tolmekia. And but before they offer that thing of peace, they break into people's homes, they round everybody up, and they break into the big castle of there's like two towers in the center of the village where the king sleeps, and they kill the king.
Yeah.
Who was already sick. Nausicaa goes back to rescue her father,
and then is enraged and then tries to kill all of them by herself.
Yeah, so
that I thought was actually pretty good, because I was all like, damn. Like,
yeah,
she was so pissed off that she goes like, I'm just gonna kill all of you. I don't care.
Yeah, and then Lord Yupa stops them.
Yeah.
By the way, Lord Yupa gets in between her and a Tolmekian soldier, and Nausicaa actually plunges a blade into his wrist, and you can see blood going down his wrist onto down the edge of the blade. It's so cool. Meanwhile, you get to hear like Patrick Stewart talking this whole time.
Yeah, like he's talking to one of the guards because he has a small blade in the armor.
Yeah,
like in the faceplate. Well, underneath the faceplate, like basically where his neck is, and he just goes like, "Yeah, I would be careful right now, because I could just kill you right where you stand."
Because
basically.
Lord Yupa is a master swordsman.
Yeah, and so then they recognize who he is, and then they all like stop, and they all start talking and whatever. But they end up taking them as prisoner, because like they take the princess with them. They take a few of her guards with her as well as prisoner. But like
this whole time we get to see who's the character that's played by Uma Thurman again? The Princess of Tolmekia, basically, the general.
Yeah, she's like the general, the princess of
her name is
Tolmekia. Where is it? Kushana.
Lady Kushana, yes. So she's awesome, by the way, because
because later on, later we find out that she's missing either her hand or the arm.
She's missing her arm and her legs.
Yeah,
because they got taken by insects, basically.
Yeah, and her husband died also from the insects as well.
Yeah.
So therefore, she hates the insects. But I thought it was actually really cool. Well, I thought this part was actually dumb, because like now they're going I don't know where they're going. I don't remember if they were going back to the country or what.
Yes. So
Because they were making their way back, and then Aspel comes, and so he's in a warplane.
This scene was so great. So yeah, it's the Kushana Nausicaa agrees to go back with Kushan to discuss the annexation of the Valley of the Wind into the Tolmecan Empire without any bloodshed, because like she doesn't want to fight anyone. She's a pacifist.
She just wants to.
She was like, "I'll go with you, but I want to bring some of my people with me for insurance."
Yeah.
So they go back in this huge fleet. Like, these ships are, I think there's massive.
What, 3 of them? 4
no,
of
there's
them?
5 of them, and a smaller little like tug plane.
I thought it was hilarious that Aspel comes and he pretty much destroys all of them.
Yeah,
they're these huge, massive
Aspel
ships.
is essentially what's in a tiny fighter plane, and these Tolmecan ships would look really freaking big. Just go down in a couple of shots because of these he brings down the whole fleet.
He's not hitting vital points of these planes at all. He just shoots at them and then they just explode, and it's just what the hell. I just thought that was hilarious, and I have it written down in my notes. Was ships suck. The ships suck.
Tolmecan ships suck.
Yeah, the Tolmecan ships.
They're terrible.
Suck.
They made of paper, basically.
And
so
because then Nausicaa, the ship's on fire and it hasn't exploded yet. So Nausicaa gets her and her
gets Mito, and she takes Kushana with her because when they left, they also requested that they take one of their gunships.
Yeah.
With them,
and so they get in the gunship,
smaller propeller plane if it had a propeller. And then
they get into the gunship, and then she goes to stop Aspel, and he ends up crashing.
Yeah, because they shoot him down. They manage to shoot him down, but all the other planes freaking crash.
Right.
So, and as they're falling down, they realize that they have to go save the tug plane that is carrying the 3 other guys that they took with her. They're kind of useless at that point.
Right.
So, but they can't fly around forever, so they have.
No, they're just they're not even flying. They're just basically falling with style.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't have an engine on it. It's just a glider, pretty much.
Yes.
So it's kind of like a paper airplane.
So they have to touch down somewhere, and the only place they could find that they could touch down is
in the jungle.
In the toxic jungle.
Yeah, and so they land, and then they start talking. They're like, "Hey, I'm gonna go and try to find this pilot." Nausicaa tells them, "Hey, go back to the village, warn." I don't know. She probably says warn the people or something like that. But she goes "Hey, if I'm not back in an hour, leave because
and I'll find my way back." At this point, at this point, she's just telling them to try to get back to the village.
Yeah. Because let me see.
Because then what happens is at that point, I believe that she goes to find Asbil, and they get stuck in quicksand.
Yeah,
right.
And
so she takes her glider.
And she gets knocked out, and so she falls into the quicksand.
And then Asbil tries to save her, and then they fall into this underground pit, and that's when Nausicaa realizes that the air is breathable down here.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of clean water down here, and it's wait a minute. I wonder if we can turn off the poisonous. No, she already knew this beforehand because she's a botanist, so she already learned that. Yeah, I don't know how to make these plants not poison. I don't know how to make the jungle not poisonous. I only know how to do it in certain points because of the clean water we have here in the valley of the Wind.
Yeah,
but then we go down to this underground reservoir. It's we can just use this place. We could just find a way to get the soil from down here and use it to plant it in the jungle above it, and then the plants won't be poisonous anymore. Then we won't have to worry about the jungle destroying the world, or our world, basically.
Right.
And so meanwhile they eventually go back, but then Asbil says that he has to go to Pegite real quick.
Yeah, and so they make their way to Pegite and come to find out that their whole village is destroyed.
The entire city of Pegite is destroyed.
Yeah, it's gone because of the Ohm.
The Ohm.
The Ohm destroyed their town, and so then coincidentally his people actually land from a plane, and so they're like, oh hey, glad that you made it, and blah blah blah.
It was like, what happened? Why is Pedgite destroyed?
Oh, the other thing too is like he told Nausicaa that like he had a twin sister.
Yeah,
that died in the
crash.
That
was the girl who died. Was that's why he attacked the Tolmekians in the first place, because
they took her captive.
And
so
and she
that
found
way
out
that
he was
they
dead.
can do this whole thing of taking out the village or the town.
So basically, this is great.
And now you've got the Pedgite. The mayor, who's voiced by Mark Hamill, like I mentioned.
Brilliant plan, by the way.
Yeah, so he's going like, hey, we're actually going to do this plan to get back at the Tolmekians by pretty much taking one of the Ohm children and just bringing it to wherever that they are, and just basically having the Ohm fight our battle for us. But
we had to test it first to make sure that it worked. So we basically just
destroyed our town.
Destroyed our own city to make sure that that we could
actually that it would work.
They skewer this baby Ohm and they fly it using this little flying device. It's kind of like Bowser's like kind of ship from Super Mario World.
Yeah,
kind of. That's how I would describe this airship thing.
Yeah, because like it is just basically flying by itself, so it doesn't really have anything with it except for just by itself.
So unfortunately, this plan involves, if in order to get to Tolmekia, they have to go straight through the Valley of the Wind.
And then Nausicaa is just like, no, that's my village, and they're like, I don't give a shit about you or your village. You're gonna be
Mayor Mark
anyway.
Hamill's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, and vote for Mark Hamill as mayor.
And it's like,
and they so I don't remember. Yeah, because then she's on the ship. She's held as captor
because they're flying now towards Tolmekia with the baby Ohm behind them,
and now two of the village
they come in and say like
Aspel's mom and
another
girl come in, and so she's going to take the place of Nausicaa
by changing her clothes.
Yeah, as prisoner.
And she's wearing a blue. So she asked her to take her dress. So she's wearing a blue dress.
Yeah, so they switch clothes. Nausicaa leaves with the mother, and they get her to her glider.
Yeah.
And so while this is happening, I keep forgetting their name. The other factor.
What,
like
you mean the Tolmekians? Or?
Yeah, the Tolmekians. So the Tolmekians come, they pretty much are like taking over their ship and trying to kill them and stuff.
Yeah.
And Nausicaa finally gets away and leaves Aspel in there and gets back to the village, and before that she finds the ship that is carrying the baby Ohm.
Yeah.
And takes them out. And then
now she's in the middle of the acid lake.
Yeah, and the baby is enraged. But while all this is going on, the Ohm are also enraged, and now they're going to
again. There's probably thousands of them.
Huge amount of Ohm
of these big ass bugs.
Yeah, and they are on their way to the village because they're following the baby. Well, then they are on this small patch of land that is touched by the acid lake. And so now they're just there. And the Ohm are making their way to the lake, and then they divert their attention towards the village because you've got the guys blowing them up with the tanks and stuff. And now back at the village, the queen, I keep drawing a blank on everybody's name. So you've got as this thing keeps popping around, Kushana, who comes back with the giant monster that was in the egg.
So we forgot to mention this, but like the whole reason the world is like this at all, Like we see the way, like where we see Lord Yupa in the beginning is he's traveling across a giant desert, and there's very secluded regions of the world right now, like Pegite and Tomikia and the Valley of the Wind, because essentially 1,000 years ago, the world was like burned down basically by these like giant tall men made of fire who just rampaged across the earth and like destroyed everything basically.
Yeah.
So, actually, what was also on the Tolmekian ship was a dormant version of one of those firemen from 1,000 years ago that destroyed everything. The Tolmekians are now trying to bring back to life so they can use it as a weapon of war.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the whole plan at this time right now, is to like wake it up and basically use it as a nuclear option.
Right.
So once Kushana realizes that the Ohm are coming to destroy Tolmekia and the village and them as well, she accelerates the process in which the big fire guy is reforming, and she does it too quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Because now he's just dying.
He's basically melting, but he fires off a couple of big ass lasers.
Yeah.
And kills
Bursts.
a couple of the Ohm.
Yeah.
But he basically falls apart, and their whole plan is ruined.
Right.
Because they did it too quickly.
Yeah. And then Nausicaa has the baby.
Yes.
And makes her way to in between the village and the Ohm, and then the Ohm pretty much just like cut right straight through her. And they pretty much
like she goes flying.
Yeah, they
Oh
hit
my
her,
God.
and then so she goes flying up, and the village is just like watching this all happen.
Yeah.
And they pretty much are like, oh my God, like the princess is dead now. And then the Ohm finally stop.
Finally stop.
And now you see
around
now you see from a center going outward from red to blue, because now they're finally actually calming down.
Yeah.
And it's because that the baby is finally like back.
Like the baby the weird thing Ohm do is they send out appendages and stuff like that, like little tentacles, stuff like that like wrap around people, and it's their sensory things, I suppose.
Yeah. But they end up healing Nausicaa because they think that she's dead. Not the Ohm, but the villagers. They think that she's dead.
Yeah.
And they raise her up with the tendrils.
Yeah, and then she's walking along the field.
But she's like fully healed now, and then she just goes like, "Oh, thank you so much," and starts like walking on them like a field.
Yeah, field, and that's the legend of the guy in the blue dress, and he's walking along a field of gold, and he's gonna bring prosperity, which Nausicaa is, because she figured out how to make the jungle not toxic.
Right, because like
everyone stops
at
fighting.
some point when the plane is going overhead from the village, there's spores that are popping up, and so like they have to burn them. And later on they find this giant amount of spores that have clung to the trees, and now they have to burn down the whole forest. This
is all during when Nausicaa is trapped in the toxic forest, and like after they leave, they find out that like, oh, the spores are starting to appear in the valley, and it's like, well, if the spores come here, then we're doomed, basically. Right. We can't live here anymore.
Right.
There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Like, we're finished.
But they managed to actually cut it off, and Nausicaa is like, I don't know what, because like Nausicaa's now alive, and then she goes back to the village.
Yeah, and then they start like planting trees again, because this is all during the credit sequence.
Right, because like now there's just the music and stuff.
Yeah,
and then I can't ever like remember their names, like the bad people.
The Tolmekians.
Yeah, the Tolmekians, they leave, and everything, and then that's the end of the movie. So.
Yeah, I mean it's not an overly long movie.
It's
right?
not.
It goes by
and
pretty
like
quickly.
it's not, and like not a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah,
So,
because it's mostly like long.
honestly,
it's
we've been talking for almost about an hour, and it literally doesn't even feel like an hour. It literally, to me, it feels like it's like, yeah, we summed this movie up in like 20 minutes.
yeah,
So-
because it doesn't really linger on too many things too
No,
long.
there wasn't
It's
a
like,
whole lot to
there's-
like
there's-
actually break down. There wasn't a whole lot of like open discussion
It's a
about
very
things.
simple plot. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
I feel like that a lot of these Studio Ghibli movies are going to be like very simple plots of going like, okay, like this bunch of stuff happens and now it's over.
it's not like Akira. You know,
No, where like there's a lot of stuff
There's a
that you
lot of
have
shit
to
going on, you have
stop
to
and
break
talk
down
about.
and,
And,
but
yeah.
like it doesn't leave a lot of room for well, I shouldn't say that, but like at least for me, it just seemed very straightforward, and there wasn't very much like there wasn't like things
because
to
like
interpret.
this is less than 2 hours long.
It's also a movie
So-
from the 80s, so they wanted to, especially a movie. Well, it wasn't made for Western audiences, obviously, but like
No.
it certainly appealed to me because I was interested the whole time, and I never like there's never a part of the movie that I watched where I was just like this doesn't really make sense, or it was like I missed something, or it's
Right.
like I'm losing interest. But
Yeah.
it was very good.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the end of Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. With that being said, we will now have our discussion about this being a rent, buy, or skip. Hence the reasons why this is called RBS in the first place. So rent is just an occasional watch. Buy is like, I love this movie so much, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to put it up on my shelf of movies, and I am just going to continue to watch this. And skip is just don't even waste your time. It's trash movie. It's like Snow White. It's not good.
How many times are you going to use Snow White as your?
As many times as I want to, or as many times as I can, because that's a piece of shit movie. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? As you yawn.
I swear I'm interested.
I swear I'm awake.
I would
not
say
drunk.
that I'd give this movie a low buy.
Fuck yeah!
Because it is a not like I'm not doing it just because it's a Studio Ghibli movie and you have to buy all of them. It's like, but no, this is like a genuinely it's a good story, and it's a feel good story.
Yeah.
But it also has some exciting moments in it that keep you interested in like the overall like what the world is like.
Right.
And I also just love the voice cast. I think the voice cast
Yeah,
did
the
a
voice cast is really
job
good.
in the like because most times even in modern animated media, whether it's like a show or a movie, the unless they're like well established dub voice actors, they're usually just sort of people that you getting off the street, and they usually are like really over the top, and they don't really match the same energy that the people in the sub did.
Oh yeah.
Like at least for anime shows, I mentioned this before during Akira, I prefer to watch it in the sub when I can.
Right.
For the first watch through. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll watch the second through the dub, but like whenever I see the dub of certain shows, it's just like this they're just doing way too much.
Yeah.
The voice direction is not great.
Sometimes subbed versus dubbed, depending on the show or the movie, one is better than the other.
It's a preference on how well is your attention span. How well can you how able are you to devote your attention to something like 100%.
Yeah.
Right? Because with the sub, you have to
pay attention. You
or
have
you'll
to read.
You will miss something.
Right. You
Because,
have to read
It's
the
in a
subtitles.
language that you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, assumingly that you don't know, right? For most English listeners, people who like Americans, I'll say, but like I mean not just Americans, but people who don't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
If you don't pay attention, you're going to miss something very important. But more than likely. But in the dub, then you can watch a little bit more casually because you're hearing it instead of having to visualize it.
Right.
But
It's like you know what's going on without having to actually watch it.
if the dub is good enough, then that's the preferred way to watch it. Like for Dragon Ball, I'll only watch it in the dub. I just prefer the dub voice actors to the sub voice actors.
Yeah.
Especially for Goku. They're like Sean Schemmel is Goku for me, and I just not a fan of the Japanese voice actor
actors.
for Goku.
Not that she does a bad job.
No, she doesn't, because she's been doing
taste.
it for so long, and she is a good, it doesn't hit the same, you know?
Especially when Goku screams.
Yeah.
She doesn't really scream like how you
And
want
I like
him to,
how-
but then
how-
Sean Schemmel literally goes the distance with his screaming for Goku.
And I like how Goku, Gohan, and Goten all have, different voice actors in the dub rather than they're all the same in the sub.
Subtitled, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something I also appreciate. But anyway, back to my consensus. I would say that this film is worth your time, and I would say above that, it's a movie that I would probably put in my collection as a low buy.
Okay.
Nearing on Rent. It wasn't my favorite film that I've ever seen,
Right.
but it was good enough that I consider watching it again.
Yeah.
So,
For me, I would say that this is a Rent.
I mean, it's all right. Like,
Top tier Rent.
yeah. So we're about in the same boat. Pretty much.
So, and for me, it's because of the fact that, not just because it's Hayao Miyazaki, it's not because it's a Studio Ghibli movie, it's because of the fact that the characters are really good, the story is well made, the art is really, really good.
Oh, the animation is beautiful.
Yeah, the animation is good. The score is super good. Pretty much like I said at the top of the show, this movie is a masterpiece. It's because it is.
Because I mean,
nobody makes a Studio Ghibli movie like Hayao Miyazaki.
yeah.
And, there's no comparison. You have all these other anime-based movies that are super good in their own right, like Akira Ghost in the Shell,
Your Name,
Perfect Blue. You've got all these great, phenomenal anime movies, but they're all good in their own right. But
they're not
it's
Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah, and you can specifically spot, this is a Studio Ghibli movie.
I think there was one point where it was someone said that's Studio Ghibli hair.
Yeah.
And it's that's crazy that you can find those similarities between
It's
different
always and we've talked about this on the podcast before, where it's you have this notoriety that you can spot who made this movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What movie did we say that about that?
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah,
Christopher Nolan,
Christopher
J.J.
Nolan films.
Abrams.
Yes.
A bunch of others.
You could say even Zack Snyder is that way.
Zack Snyder, a bunch of world-renowned directors and stuff. They have a certain style that they have.
Yes.
To them.
Quentin Tarantino is that way. Martin Scorsese is
Yeah,
that way.
it's you don't even need to see who directed it to know
you can
who
tell.
directed it.
Oh yeah, this is probably a Tarantino
especially if
film.
you've seen a lot of their movies, then you
Yes.
know specifically, that's this person. Or it's the same thing for the score. I know that's John Williams.
Yeah, John Williams, or that's Lorne Balfe or something like that. It's it's the same way for also Spielberg films.
Yeah.
You can generally tell just based off of that style.
It's whimsical and family friendly.
Yes.
And all this bunch of stuff, especially for Spielberg. But back into this, you definitely have that certain style of a Studio Ghibli movie, and it feels like a Studio Ghibli movie. You feel that it is Hayao Miyazaki film.
And we should really talk about this at one point, but there's just not enough interest nowadays about 2D animated films.
No.
It's all about
Either
3D animation
animated or live action.
Or live action, or even Like, while I agree, like, while I thought that, like, the Spider-Verse films were really, really good, that's still more of a really stylized and, like it's more of a experimental artistic version, but, like, like one of the best movies that I've seen in the last year was Klaus, which is a 2D animated film that is about, it's a Christmas film.
Yeah, it's on
and
Netflix.
I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And there's not enough focus on 2D animated films nowadays because they feel like, oh, we have all this technology and it's so much easier to do it like in 3D graphics and like CGI that we should just do that because we have the technology to do it, so why shouldn't we just do it? Because you can tell that more work is put into a 2D animated film because it's 2D animated, because they had to draw it by hand. Like that's what makes it special, and that's what makes these movies so much more interesting to look at, is because you know that somebody had to go through and storyboard this movie and draw all the scenes out and then put it together in an animation instead of having a computer do it for them.
Right.
Do most of the work for them, I should say, because they still use. I'm sure they still use computers to put this movie together.
Yeah.
But having a computer do almost all of the work for you, or to draw it all into a computer, it's just like It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's like people constantly say like, oh, why are there no 2D animated films? Because you've pushed this narrative that nobody wants to see them, but because you don't make any.
Right.
And so you get to justify that as, oh, nobody wants to see them because so we'll just keep making like all these 3D animated slop films.
Right.
You know, like.
Yeah, I totally agree. With that being said, it's a buy for you. It's a rent for me.
Yes. Sorry, little rant there, but
no, you're good.
It wouldn't be an episode that I'm on if I wasn't able to go on a little rant.
Yeah.
So.
Also, when I was editing the Akira episode, I realized that you were right and I was wrong about the part where the general like gets fired, and so he has the one guy shoot him.
Yeah.
And then you were right, because the guy next to him does shoot the other guy that just shot him. When I edited it, I put in like right above my head, I said like basically like in text saying like, yes he does. And then when I was saying like, no he doesn't, I'm like, yes he does. And because then I watched the footage back and I was just like, oh fuck, Jack was right. I was like, god damn it.
Yeah, I was.
As I bumped the microphone. But yeah, all of this just to say like, yeah, you were right and I was wrong. So like but yeah, I would do suggestive people, but there's not really any suggestive people to talk about for this movie.
Yeah, because like,
it's actually a world-renowned movie. It's like almost perfect. I didn't find any 1-star ratings on IMDb.
Yeah.
So
which is surprising given how
how
long this film's been out.
Right. I think that I was looking at like a 2-star. Yeah, there was 1 2-star rating, but they just said like the audio wasn't that good, and I'm like, okay, well that's not really a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
There's like a couple of 3-star reviews, but I was all like, okay, well that's
not even worth it at that point.
So, usually after we give our consensus, I would go onto IMDb, do a 1, 10, if not both star review on from the website, and then we would have that open discussion about it, which would be another 20 minutes. But because we don't really have that now, because we actually rated it pretty highly, maybe about an 85%. I feel like.
Yeah, I would give that. I would also give it an 85. You know,
so it's not super good. It's well made enough to where it's all like it's warranted to actually watch, because of course it is a Studio Ghibli movie to begin with.
So final consensus is somewhere in between high rent, low buy.
Yeah.
So like right on the cusp of just like those two. So.
Right. So
it's worth your time.
You should definitely watch this worth film. Your time.
It's a great movie. It's a great watch. It's very fun.
Yeah. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching, tuning in, listening, however you guys are doing it. I just care about you guys actually caring and tuning in every week. But leave a like and comment in the comment section below. You guys can also subscribe to the channel on YouTube and also check us out on Spotify as well. And, you know, share this with other people.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
That, you know, might actually want to hear us talk about movies, review movies, just that sort of whole shtick. And leave a comment in the comment section below about a movie that you guys want us to talk about, just like other people that have done it on here before, like Annie. Annie's the one that suggests this movie for us.
Thank you,
so
Annie.
Again, third shout out to Annie for suggesting this movie, even though it was a little boring being her favorite, but I still really enjoyed it. So
I also really enjoyed it.
But yeah, otherwise, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye.